Capo. It's so easy for us to get lost, right? Lost in love. I'm a grown man, I can tell you the truth. Hey Peter, I almost fell myself. When it get cold, it get cold. Something like Canada. I guess you can feel me on that one, right? You know.
You've encountered some challenges and rewards. So I know there's some things that really make it all worthwhile. And there are some things that really make you decide, is this the thing that I want to keep doing sometimes? So maybe we can talk to a little bit about what are some of the challenges and rewards that you've encountered over the course of your journey from where you started to where you are now. You know what I mean? Madge, do you have any things that you might consider to be really important challenges and rewards for you over your journey?
Challenges for sure. I mean, just being on your own and not having a crew and starting on your own, completely on your own, like with $0 and just an idea, right there is a challenge. To be honest, I don't really want to play this card, but honestly, being a woman in the cannabis industry, especially at the beginning, was a little bit more challenging as well.
Absolutely.
Because it was a very dominated male industry at the time. So those little things were challenges because you know, I was kind of getting I don't want to say used, but like taken advantage of a little bit in certain situations. If we were doing an event or something like that with whomever I was working with at the time, either a payment wouldn't come through or they would you know
try and fucking dick you around, like, and shit.
You know, stupid excuses for stupid shit, you know. So those type of challenges I think are always just going to be there. It's really kind of navigating who are the best people to work with, and making those good connections and making that little community, which has grown exponentially and I'm super grateful for. I would have to say the things that are what make it worthwhile is like seeing the happy faces. My favorite thing is when I have a client come through who's either had a really bad day or is hella skeptical on what's going to happen at one of my events. And within like 10 minutes, I've switched them completely and they've become like my #1 fan and now are bringing people through and like are following me and sharing my shit. That is my absolute favorite thing because
it's like crack cocaine.
It's great. It's so great. And that's why I became like an art therapist, was because it helped me out of my depression. And as we were all like talking, you know, you were saying, Dylan, I think you were saying it's like meditation. It really is. Like art, it's not about if it looks good or if it looks realistic or whatever. It's about releasing whatever is in your body, in your mind, and just putting it on something. If it's a canvas, if it's a t-shirt, if it's the ground floor, if it's a wall, whatever the fuck it is, if it's the sidewalk, whatever it is.
It's food.
You're releasing so much tension without even knowing. That's why my slogan is the therapy you didn't know you needed. You legitimately, doesn't matter if it's a paint class, if it's a comedy show, if it's a drag show, if you're coming to eat, if it's a pop-up, whatever it is, you are going to leave happier and better. And I 100%, that's the #1 reason I continuously keep doing this. Absolutely. Because as you know, the pandemic has really shifted a whole lot of stuff, especially in the art world, especially for events. It's been absolutely horrible.
Mayhem.
But I mean, people crave this stuff, and especially during the pandemic when we couldn't go get those connections and meeting other local people or just, you know, being around other like-minded people was really devastating. So it was cool that you guys were doing stuff online. It's really cool that you're doing this. Like I told my parents about this night and they were like, my God, what a brilliant idea. I'm like, I know, it's a great idea. I mean, I told you last time we did the interview that you were the reason why I started doing Paint Puff Pass party packs and selling like art packs to people, and then they could do like an art class with me online. Like it was like a slight switch. So that's what I take away. My big thing is like literally seeing people's perspective change in such a short period of time, like is my favorite thing ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I feel you on that. I get that whole vibe about being able to convert somebody. It is like, it's like a drug.
It is.
when you see someone just turn their whole leaf around, it's always a vibe. That's awesome. That's awesome. Paul, what about you? I know, again, for some of the things that you do, you might encounter some challenges that some of us might not normally encounter, because of a lot of your graffiti work and stuff like that. So are there challenges and rewards that you get from doing your work? And again, I don't want to pigeonhole you into graffiti now. Now I feel a ways because I know that I big you up as a graffiti artist, but now I come to realize that there's so much more to you. But just in regards to that, are there things that you find that are really challenging and rewarding for you in for sure? Field?
And like, I'd say graffiti is probably one of the things I've been doing the least. So
that's crazy.
I spent about 8 years learning the politics of graffiti in my city, like before I even touched it.
Wow. I was gonna say graffiti is a whole different fucking ballpark. Like,
what I want you to tell me what hopefully you're gonna get into, because I saw it on your stories the other day or a while ago, a couple of weeks ago. One of my favorite pieces that you have in the city is that Nipsey Hussle piece that you have downtown Graffiti Alley. And I saw recently that someone
an important person to display. Good on you.
Yeah,
I wanted people to learn about him.
Vandalized it, and then I saw like that night you fixed it. You were out there all night, and you fixed it like it had never happened, and it was incredible. And I was like, this guy is a super soldier, like Captain America, super soldier.
That piece was the first time in like since I was like doodling and shit, maybe like 8 years, that I made something for myself. And when he passed away, I wanted to paint in Graffiti Alley. It was the first piece I ever painted in Graffiti Alley, right? Like that I ever did up. And I always wanted to do a piece in there. I you know, for years and years, I met the guys who were like the writers in the city. A lot of them, so many. And I learned the politics about graffiti and stuff. And when it came to when Nipsey passed, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go there and I'm going to knock one out. And I really wanted to learn about him because it was my way to pay back for people to learn about him the way that I did. And
from what you learned from him, you're saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
From what you learned from him, you wanted to make sure, people look at this motherfucker and learn about him. That's what you're saying?
I honestly, truly believe that every single human being on this planet could learn something from that man.
Oh, hell yeah. He's a smart fucking man. I
don't care what avenue of life you're in. Like, I don't care what your corporate, your whatever it is. That man spat nothing but facts. And like the truest version of like, if you want to do what you want to do to the highest level, that man had mastered his thinking process about it. And the only reason I know that is because I grew up with parents who were in the Amway business. I always went to like rallies and like when I was younger to listen to like multimillionaires speak about like, you know, rags to riches shit and like all their troubles and all of their successes and the way they got over stuff and just the power of having only a plan A. And like you got to be all into anything you want to do and you want to do well. Money's a byproduct of hard work and good ideas. And so chasing
money's that energy.
Yeah.
The energy.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when I learned about Nipsey, right? So I remember he was on a track with Drake 10 years ago, right? And that's kind of when he hit the radar. And just because you hear a feature doesn't mean you're going to go pop the guy's album. Like I didn't do that. So I was never into his music, but I was always into positive self-speak. Anyone, Warren Buffett, Jay-Z, like anybody who would like, you know, I would watch their interviews constantly and I would always throw them in people's faces that I know, you know what I mean? Because I've always been on my grind, like just forward thinking, like, I'd rather die than go backwards. You know what I mean? So when it came to Nipsey, I grew up in a very similar situation. So he was the first person that spoke the way he spoke that I completely atoned to, right? And the same things I was thinking were the shit that he was saying verbally. right? So for almost 8 years, I watched all of his interviews all the time, like always, like just pulling that stuff. It wasn't only until about 2-3 years before he passed that I got into his music. Okay. And then realized that everything he said in his music was facts. It was all real shit. And it was always progressive. So there was this one interview that made me really listen to his music. And it was after he did this album called Bullets Have No Names. And this guy interviewed him, and he was young still. And he goes, do you think you're going to lose your fan base by changing the gangster tone in your music? Right. And he goes, if my fans don't understand that I'm progressing as a human being, right, and they can't follow that, you know what I mean? He goes, I used to rap about gangbang because that's what I was doing. He goes, now I'm rapping about business and like vertical integration and bettering yourself because that's what I'm doing, right? And he goes, this is my story. And he goes, if you don't understand that life is about progression, then you're fake, right? And you're trying to be something that's static, right? And you're trying to be something that doesn't have any progression in it. Yeah. Right. And it was these things that atoned to me constantly, because this is all I thought all the time. And when he passed away, it literally rained every single day here for a month. Right. And I saw all these pieces going up all over the world. And like the only way you know if they exist is if they're geotagged. Right. Mm-hmm. So because like you don't see scenery or whatever. So piece was I needed to see the skyline. I needed to see the CN Tower so that when you took a photo of it, or if I took a photo of it, you knew it was in Toronto. That's it. Right? Because I wanted people to know that one was here.
Worldwide.
And yeah, straight up. And I did that for myself. I didn't know if anybody here was going to understand what I was doing or like it or whatever. I didn't give a shit. I did it for me.
Is that what you were doing? Worldwide, make him worldwide, or what were you doing?
No, I was like, yo, at the end of the day, murals go up of all kinds of people. And I was like, I want to see that mural here. And I was like, and I have the ability to do it. So I'm going to do it. So I went there, I found the spot, just so happened to be the only piece really that was messed up in that whole line of Graffiti Alley. And it had a frame around it. Yeah. I was like, it's crazy. So it was like serendipitous a little bit. I started working on it in between projects. It took me like 2 months because it was like 4 solid days of work, but I had so much other shit going on that I kept breaking and like going over there and running it out because I was like, I have to do this. Yeah. And
it was a passion project.
People saw that I was doing it and they were hashtagging it, even though it was unfinished. So I was at this motivation to get it done. And the whole idea was Nipsey was all about progression and like innovation and development of everything he did. He always tried to take the next step. What is everybody doing? I'm going to take the next step. So what I did was I wanted to make it a smart mural, right? So I didn't want people to just go, oh, who's that? That's dope mural. Cool. Whatever. It looks dope. That's not what I wanted. I wanted people to learn about who he was. So what I did was I made it a smart mural, which I'd never heard of. I was just like, I want people to be able to do this thing. And I put 3 QR codes on the side of it. So it says, this is a smart mural to learn, to scan the QR codes to learn about the great Nipsey Hussle. And it's got 3 videos and each one links to a different video about who he was. Right. So
him speaking or who he was.
So the very first video, Complex did an interview with him, I think in like 2017, him and his brother about the Crenshaw story and their whole story. It's like 35-40 minutes long. And they did a condensed version. It was like 5 minutes. So it's literally called on YouTube, Who is Nipsey Hussle? So I took that video link and that's the first video. And then the second video is his studio breakdown with Noisy of the entire Victory Lap album. So he sits there and he talks about each song and why he made that song, right? So it's an entire, basically like understanding of his creative process of why he made these tracks, because they were the story of his life, right? Yeah. And then this was like his Magna Carta. Like he took 5 years to make this album, right? So this was his like, you know, his thing.
It was the Victory Lap.
Straight up. It was exactly what he meant. So that was the second one. And the third one is a video of Ebro in the Morning of Idris Sandu. And Idris Sandu is this kid that he found who's 22 years old, 21 years old at the time. And he's worked for Google, Apple, Uber. He's a programmer. And Nipsey found him working on some crazy tech. He's from Crenshaw as well. He found him working in a Starbucks on some crazy tech on his laptop and brought him to his team, right? And got him to help him innovate the marathon store, right? So he basically put this kid on the forefront of his own design, because all these companies that have used Idris have always put him to the back. They put him in the back room. You know what I mean? Make our sick code. Nobody knew who he was. He won a presidential award from Obama, this kid, right? And Nipsey was like, the kind of value he had in people and how he wanted to show them the value he had in them was like the first day he brings this kid onto his company, he had it was going to be like, I think a pre-listening party for Victory Lap. And it was on a cruise in Bahamas. The very first day he decided not to do the show. And for all the people that were there, he decided to have a panel talk with Idris to introduce him to these people.
Oh, wow.
Right? To explain what they were going to do to innovate the store. And that's the kind of person he was, right? So just in every avenue of being a man and like the kind of person he was and being a human being, I think he set a very, very interesting blueprint for who people should be and should aspire to be. So I really wanted people to learn about him. So that's why I put it there. So
yeah, that's dope.
And the crazy part about it is when I went to go start the mural, it was like 9-10 in the morning. I'm bumping Nipsey, right? It was like a Saturday. And this girl comes down at like 12 o'clock. She comes out, people are around walking. You know, I don't know if you've ever been to Graffiti Alley on the weekend, but it's a circus, right? It's like 4,000 or 5,000 people go through in a weekend. Yeah. So I was working on it and this girl comes down. She goes, "Oh, the building owner wants your contact." And I was like, "Oh shit," right? Like maybe he's upset or whatever. But I mean, it's Graffiti Alley, so whatever. Yeah. And then later that night, I got a photo sent to my DM of the guy standing behind me taking a picture. He's like, "I love what you're doing on my house." And it's George Strombolopoulos. So that's
legend.
Yes. Yeah. So that's Strombo's house, right?
Canadian legend.
He loves it. Straight up. And he loves that mural. You know what I mean? And of all the fucking people. So it was the perfect spot. It had the frame. It's so different. Yeah. And then to be on the house of somebody who's, in my opinion, the greatest Canadian media person we've ever had.
Yeah.
And if anybody's gonna know and maybe possibly met Nipsey, it was him.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it was insane. So that worked out. And since then I did that piece for myself. I didn't do it for anyone else. And that's gotten me a lot of international recognition too. I just did a piece. I got back from California 3 months ago. I did a piece for Matt Barnes, and it was because he saw that piece. Right. Yeah. So like, and now I'm possibly going back out there to do a piece for Snoop. Right. Wow. So it's all because of just the fact that I wanted to put his word out. I wasn't trying to make money off this. I wasn't trying to do anything about it, but it's just, I was trying to push a good message. You know what I mean?
That's a proper reward, being able to share knowledge and share
and that's the thing too, is like, it just showed me that like, sometimes we can focus on the wrong things, right? It's like, I've spent the last 12 years focusing on commissions and doing pieces for people. And if I looked at it, and I never have, but if I looked at it in the way that most people look at everything, is like, what am I going to do that's going to catch me my big break? Right? Or what am I going to do that's going to put me on the map or do this? That's not why I do this. Right? I do things that compel me to do things because that's the life that I want. That's the life that fulfills me. Right? That's like the only thing that keeps me going. If I had $1 billion in the bank, I would fucking still do this.
Yeah.
I would do it every day, and I would do it to a different level maybe.
Yeah.
And I would do it, I would go on bigger scales, but I would still do this every day.
Exactly.
This is who I am. This is what I want to do. And this is my voice with the time that I have. Yeah. Right. So when it comes to these kind of things, you realize that like sometimes the things that you're focusing on are not what's going to progress your message. Right. And I realized that just after doing that piece, I was like, I really want when I get the opportunity to, at every opportunity, I want the pieces that I put out to really speak my mind. So in my work, there's, even though I don't have a process or like a treatment, there's two things that are prevalent in every single piece that I make. They always have some sort of visual perspective change or creative or ideological perspective change. I want to shift people's idea of what they're seeing, whether it's psychologically or it's visually or it's just different interpretations of things. So I love visual cues, but at the same time, I want it to also be very viscerally understood what I'm saying. I don't want people to guess what I mean. I want people to know exactly what I mean. Okay. Right. And I do that with choosing very strong imagery without trying to be provocative. Mm-hmm. I like people to be, I care about people, right? And I'm not an asshole. I don't try to be an asshole in my work. So I'm not ever trying to poke the bear and like, oh, look at me and all this shit. That's not me. Yeah. I want people to understand what I'm trying to say and that it's coming from a real place. Mm-hmm. And I want people to like, hopefully that see what I'm doing, to realize that, you know, sometimes you got to major on the majors and minor on the minors, right? There's some shit that just does not fucking matter, right? And we put such a precedent on it, or such a not a precedent, but like such a
high standard.
We put it on these things that literally mean fuck all, right? Yeah. And the problem is that too many people don't learn about what time, how valuable time really is until they lose someone or they lose something, or it's a human fallacy, right? Is that like,
you know what? I was
you don't know what we've got till it's gone. You know what I mean?
I was watching this thing. Joe Rogan was saying this thing. He's like, think about this. He's like, how often do you like see your parents? Okay, wait, once a year, twice a year, whatever. He's like, think about, okay, how many years do they have left? How many more times?
10, 15, that may be only 13, 14 more times that you see them. Exactly. I've heard that.
It's like, what happens is, what you're saying is you got to go through something to really realize, fuck, time is short. You know what I mean? So like, basically people really don't fucking get it. You know what I mean? It's like, all you have is your time. And the time is just going and going and going. It's like, so literally just fucking do, just like Nike. The reason Nike's the highest, they say, just fucking do it. And everybody, I just want to fucking do that. You know what I'm saying? You know why I do this shit? The reason I do this shit is because I want to build something, show who I was, and leave something behind for my son. You know what I mean? And not only my son. So like you're saying with time, like I lost my best friend, right? Like best friend from fucking 10 years old when I was 22. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And his son was born like just before his son was a year older than my son. So now I'm like, all right, I have limited fucking time because these children are growing, you know what I mean? So now the kids are 10. My son just turned 10. So you don't really value how much the time is until something really fucking happens. And like, I'm referring to my best friend because we all go back to what you really want to do in life. And all you really want to do in life is fucking do what you want and get paid. Get paid to do some shit you love. Listen, the reason I'm saying that is because in his yearbook picture for the grade 8 school yearbook, it said, what do you want to do in life? And his response was, do what I want and get paid. And he was fucking 13 years old. You know what I mean? And that's so basic to everything in life. And why I say earlier, I mentioned that money is only energy. That's the only reason you need to get paid, because the more energy, the more of that currency that you have, the more capability that you have to do shit
and express
for yourself, for your family, for others, for the world. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, and in my artwork,
Yeah, it's a
You'll
perfect
see,
analogy
you'll
of what I'm
see
doing right now.
DWIWAGP, and that's do what I want and get paid. And that's like, that should be my fucking slogan. You know what I mean? Because no, really, like, it's like, that's just what it is. And like you're saying, with the time, like, that's all we have. Like, you know, all we have is our time. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, that's literally the defining factor. When you ask me, like I know a lot of fucking people, and I've lived all over the city. I've moved all over the place. And I'll tell you, I've had to learn, especially with doing business. And like, I know there's a lot of artists that just want to do art and they want to do things, but just like you, business has to come first. You have to know how to do things, or else you get taken by everything, right? Yeah. And learning how to understand people as fast as humanly possible is one of the best assets you can have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, I can tell every single thing I need to know about a person by how they value time, right? Everything I need to know. I can tell if you're compassionate. I can tell if you're empathetic. I can tell if you're devious. I can tell everything by how you value time, right? And that's something that people don't learn until they lose a lot, right? Or until they realize how short the time is they have. This is all finite. You know what I mean? It's not a dress rehearsal. So one thing that always stuck in my mind, right, was just that, like, I'm going blank now, but like, it's just that, like,
talking about reading people and how they value their time.
Yeah, straight up. And I'm just thinking about, like, I was thinking about this one instance where, what was it? It's gone now. It's so gone.
No, it's definitely all good. It's all good. It's all good.
No, but like, it's just
the next question, which is talking a little bit about the things that influence your work. You know what I mean? And the question that I had for you guys was, how do you feel that current culture, be it social culture, anything like that, or just the different mediums that you use, how do you find culture affects your work? And how would you like your work to try and affect culture? So maybe we can go back to Madge, and maybe we can see how do you feel about that? How do you feel like what you're doing out there is affecting culture, and how do you feel what culture is affecting what you put out?
So I'm just going to piggyback off of what the gentlemen have been saying. It's just like what I would like to do with Adult Art Attack, and I think what I'm trying to do here and what I think is getting out there for people is, again, just trying to help the world in the end. And I'm a tiny person. I'm no big name brand, so it's not like it's going to affect a large amount of people, but I do believe that if you can affect small amounts of people in a positive way, then it will have a ripple effect.
Butterfly.
So like my whole thing with culture and just people in general is how helping people get to a really positive place. And the whole conversation that we just had right now of how people don't value time, or, you know, we're doing something that we all love, right? Like we're all doing something that we absolutely love. And money was not the first thing on our minds when we got it done. It was something that made us happy. And like you were saying, Paul, is like, if I was a billionaire, I'd still be doing this on a different level, but I'd still be doing this, right? And it's always shocking to me when I talk to people and they ask me what I do and I tell them, and how their eyes light up and they're kind of like shocked and in awe that someone could be doing something like this. Or just, you know, being able to be creative and still live off of it is like mind blowing to so many people.
And that's why it's one of the hardest things for us to do, right?
It really is, because like our lives are not easy. I know none of us have had an easy, it's been an up and down struggle, and it will consistently be so. But I know I could never be a corporate person and be happy. I could never go and do someone else's work and be happy. And I think through small amounts of events that I do and just being able to talk to people and kind of enlightening them to see that maybe that idea that I had 10 years ago is something maybe I should pursue today. is something that I think, like, I mean, that's what I'd like to do with my events, is just help people grow in the tiniest little way, that when they do go home, their perspective has changed a little bit, you know?
You know what's funny about that is that I realized very quickly. So for whatever reason, I've always dated, like, you know, lawyers, executive assistants, all corporate, right? And it's something for whatever reason I've understood of why, exactly what you're saying, why I couldn't do that, why I couldn't do corporate. And I realized that, first of all, when you talk about straight business and like lifestyle, everybody else has a ceiling. We don't.
That's right.
Our ceiling is limited by our potential.
Exactly.
And your
right? Which is phenomenal. And that's why most people never make it, right? Because it's how much work are you willing to put in, and how much do you love this?
Yeah.
Right? That's why the most passionate people succeed at things. So the other thing that I realized is the reason that we can't do this is because that job has zero gratification. We get instant gratification all day long.
Yes,
when I make a piece, I'm happy. When I show a piece, I'm happy. When I finish a design, when I connect the dots, when I put the things together, when somebody takes a photo of my shit, instant gratification all day long. And we thrive off of it. Yeah. And it's not monetary. It's just in seeing people enjoy, or yourself, even yourself, just enjoy the things that you're creating with your mind.
Yeah.
Right? And we thrive off of that. And that is something they don't get. They get a salary check. And one of my exes was a lawyer, right? And the only way she would get a higher check is if she did over and above her job. I don't know how much you guys know about lawyers, but if a lawyer doesn't have to think and everything is already ready for them, everyone under them is killing themselves to do it, to make sure it's ready for them. And they don't get a thank you.
Never.
They might get a higher paycheck. That's it. If you're doing the perfect, like 150% of your job, that is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Zero gratification for that.
Yeah.
So constantly, a lot of corporate people are always just living in their turmoil because they get zero gratification from that. All they do is get money, and money is not thankful.
Exactly. They're not heard. They're not understood. None of it, even as a teacher, even as a dentist or a doctor or whatever, like, we all need these people, and we're not putting them down in any way, shape, or form. But like, it's
for us, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
We're addicted to the gratification that we get from it. Right. And that's
it's always about perspective though, because there's some people who people would consider corporate and stuff, like even like say like a real estate agent or something, but in their own way, you know, they're the certain type of individual. They're free. They drive around, they deal with who they want to deal with and choose to deal with, you know what I mean? And they close deals. And they talk to this person. Oh fuck! I did this way, and today the deal I fucking did. You know what I mean?
I used to work in sales too.
Because you know, but what you guys are saying, I completely understand. With the like, fuck, I come to work, and now I sit here today, and today I have to do this, right? You know, it's like factory work. It's mindless stuff.
Don't get me wrong.
Do something where your brain is engaged every day, and like you originally said about being an artist and not having a like, this is what the fuck I do, and that's what I do. It's like you have more of, you're being engaged. Now you have to learn a little something new, or you're learning something new, or you have to apply something from before, and you know, it's an interesting game. It's just about how you look at life, right?
My comparison with the whole corporate thing is like being a chef in a corporate, in the corporate industry, like a chain industry, like Jack Astor's or something like that. You're a chef that basically you can't grow because they give you, this is the menu, this is what you have to do. It has to be 2 ounces of this, 1 ounce of that, and you have to follow.
I started corporate, and just so you know, I started corporate restaurants, and then I went to private.
Yeah, so that's
I had that whole progression.
Yeah,
that's exactly what you're talking about. And I worked in corporate restaurants for 4.5 years I didn't learn a damn thing about food.
No.
Zero.
No.
Actually,
No,
here's your,
not.
I could heat it up.
No,
Yeah.
that's it. You're not cooking. You're not
There's
cooking.
zero about food.
You put it in the microwave, you heat it up, and that's it.
Well, never in a microwave. I don't want to get that impression. But at the same time, like when it actually comes to preparing food, understanding mother sauces, and like the theory behind food, that is not what you learn in a corporate restaurant.
No.
Here's your menu items. Here's your station. This is how you work the fryer, the grill, the saute, the guard, whatever it is. And like, here you go. But that is no theory. That is just practicality, right? Yeah. And that's not how you learn about cooking.
Yeah, and so this brings Sean, it brings your whole thing on a deeper level. How is culture affecting you as an artist kind of idea? You know what I mean? Look what everybody's doing. It's like shit, like on a deeper level, like society that you live in, the way you're observing life being lived makes you as an artist want to live life a certain different way. You know what I mean? It like literally what you're saying is how is what's around you gonna affect your artwork? You know what I mean? It's like in every single aspect, like and like some artist said, you got to be a sponge. You got to take it in. I'm learning something new from Madge today. I'm learning something from Alfred. I'm learning something from you. I'm learning something from him. You know what I mean? Like literally, you just got to be a sponge, and it's like you absorb what you need and what attracts you, and you can't always have a closed vision on things, and that's why, like, even with these saying with the art, you need to have it. You need to have it a wider perspective. You know what I mean? Like we look at our phones all day like this. You see my hand is like this, right? But that's not our eyes. No, but our eyes are not stacked.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Our eyes are, one is on this side, one is on this side. The reason is so that perspective, so you can see wide. You're supposed to look like this. You know what I mean? And a lot of people get stuck looking like
one-dimensional thinking.
So
just like
even when they're hearing new information, they're only taking in the information as much as their brain will allow them. Of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how
they can absorb.
Pardon me?
I'm saying being able to open people up, like a lot of the work that all you guys are doing is now opening people's eyes and opening up their sensations. Sure. You know what I mean? Allowing these different perspectives to come in, and the way that each of you kind of incorporates that into what you're doing is incredible. And again, that's why.
And another layer of it, right? When it comes to me, when it comes to you, Sean, when it comes to Dylan, when it comes to Madge, when it comes to Alfred, all of us, we're all doing something that atones to us, right? We're all doing separate things, and we're all doing them to the fullest of our abilities, right? That alone, regardless of the actual product or the execution of what we're doing, the fact that we're so passionate and we're so interested in the things we're doing inspires people constantly, right? They see what we're doing. I know people that just come to me to talk about like their shit or whatever, and they ask me about what I'm doing. Like I've literally heard people like, I need to get off my ass, like just from listening to me talk about my shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like not even like, oh, you made that, that's cool, that inspired me. No, just like you never stop, right? Yeah. And this is the point that I forgot that I wanted to make before.
Okay.
And it was when I went to college. One of my biggest apprehensions in the beginning of like deciding to be an artist, right, was when you start out doing this shit, I always felt like, you ever hear that term writer's block or artist block, whatever it is, like where you're going to go through a period where you're not creative, you can't find it. Before that happened to me, I realized how valuable time was, right? And that completely decimated that entire idea of being creatively challenged. When I tell you that, like, I don't have enough life, I don't have 10 lives to make all of the things I've thought of creating already.
Yeah.
And every day I get a
sense of urgency, like how important.
You know what I mean?
Things out.
I swear to God, I hardly sleep. And I understand why Da Vinci and all these people only slept 2-3 hours a night.
Yeah.
You know, Einstein's one of his famous quotes was sleep is a waste of time. Yeah. Right. And it's simply because like I just don't have enough time to make all the things I want to make.
I hear you, but you have to mentally recharge. You know what I mean? Because bro,
and this is what I mean. Don't get me wrong.
Bro,
I've been doing this for 12 years, so believe me, I understand balance. Right?
Bro, when I was 25, 26 years old, I'll go out to the club till 3:30, 4 in the fucking morning, go eat some Chinese food, and be at the construction site at 6 a.m. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear you.
We were 20, though. We were 20.
25. That was only a couple of years ago. So you got to mentally recharge.
I'll tell you this. When I was in my first year of Humber, so I was 24 years old.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this schedule until the day I die. I got accepted to the program with 3 weeks with the program to start. It was a year booked. The only reason I was allowed even in the program, it was fully booked. They were closed. They had one opening come up and I went to go see the coordinator. Her name was Miriam Dunning, super nice lady. And I was like, how do I get in here? I don't even know how. Like, she's like, well, you need a portfolio. You need a high school educate, all this kind of shit. I was like, well, I have my OSD from when I went to college before. I couldn't get OSAP because I'd already taken it out for Sheridan. So I had I had cash to pay for the first 2 years. Right. And I was like, I need to get into this program. She's like, well, we're already booked and we've been booked for a really long time. She's like, so what have you been doing? I showed her my work. She's like, you're already doing the work of a third-year student, right? So if a piece opens up, we're going to let you in. I get in. I go to orientation day. They're like, you can't work and do this program. It's impossible. You can't go to a job and also do this program, right? It's 35 hours of classwork or in class, and it's 40 hours of homework every week, right? So you're doing a 70 hour like school work through the whole week. And that's to be on par. Every single project, you need about 5 to 10 hours to be creatively different than everybody else, right? Because you need to marinate on shit. You need to take your time and get things done. So for every project you hand in, accrue another 5 hours to 10 hours on that one project to be creatively different than everyone else, right? The very first
conditions, though. That's good. You're like that conditioned you now to fucking.
So I took every dollar I had and I put it into this program, right? Yeah. I had to work. I didn't have a choice. I had to pay for my fucking rent, right? So I had to work. I was working at Coonanagle, which is a cross dock. It's like a shipping company. My boss knew that I wanted to go to school, so he's like, cool. I was doing afternoon shifts at this order picking like place.
Good hours, like giving them
right. Hours. Yeah, 3 to 11:30, right? So I told him, I was like, look, all my classes start around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning every single day. And then they finish around 4:30, depending on the day. I was like, if it's cool with you, I'll just come in whenever I'm done, right? And he's like, that's not a problem. So he's like, at least we don't have to lose somebody, hire somebody else, whatever. So I got on my schedule Wednesdays off. So my class schedules were from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I had Wednesday off school. I also took that day off work, right? So I had a full Wednesday. So the way that I worked it was I would go to school in the morning on 8 o'clock in the morning. I would go there till 4 o'clock. I'd go straight to work, right? Then I go from work at 11:30 back to Humber to the 24-hour room, right? Work on all my homework, go to class in the morning, go to work, no sleep, right? Then on Wednesday, sleep, do whatever I needed to do. And on Wednesday night, I used to promote down at a club on College, right? That was like reset button. Yeah. Do the same thing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, reset button. Sunday, prepare my homework for Monday, right? I did that for 4 fucking months. Yeah. Like I was sleeping 3 days a week.
Yep.
So when I tell you, like, when people tell you that they don't, I did nothing but that shit. Yeah. And if I didn't have that, like you said, that day to relax, that day to chill out, that day to do whatever I needed to, that was my reset button. I would have burned out way early.
Before that.
And I was getting the highest marks in my class.
Yeah.
Right? So when you want something, you fucking want something, right? I didn't give a shit about anything else other than I figured out the thing I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I have not stopped that pace since then. right? You know, as a chef, I worked at Versailles, I worked at Kazamoto, I worked at Earl's, Moxie's, fucking you name it. I was working 50 to 60 hour weeks and I was still banging out all the designs that I work on, right? So I had 2 full-time jobs nonstop for the last 10 years, right?
The only thing that can drive you that hard has to be passion.
Excuses mean nothing. And this is why I'll always tell everyone, you know how you found the thing that you love to do? When all the bullshit that comes with it is negligible.
Exactly.
Right?
I say that
when I get to paint, that's like 5-10% of my actual work.
Yeah.
Straight up. I wear all the hats.
Like nothing compared to like.
I wear all the hats. I fucking chase people for money. I fucking accrue new clients. I network. I fucking do all my video editing. I do all my renders. I do all my creative design. I do all my you name it. Everything. Right? Yeah. And like, I still go out and see people and I still go out and do the things I do. So when people tell you that like, you know, they don't have time, if you're not passionate about it, you won't do it. Exactly. And you'll know this as a construction guy, Dylan, is like when I was 18 or when I was 17 years old, I worked for my dealer, right? So super dope guy. Like I used to pick up me and my best friend used to deal at school, right? And our dealer used to pay us in weed. Okay. We used to work for him. He had a construction company doing in-ground pools, right? So in the summer, we worked for him at in-ground pools and shit. And I'll never forget this. And he comes to me and it was like second or third week. Like I was 120, 130 pounds soaking wet, right? Short kid and like 8-meter cement truck, all wheelbarrows, right? That's like 200 wheelbarrows of fucking cement, okay? No access to the backhoes are fucking dumping this shit.
Light work.
And yo,
light work, man said light work.
Straight up.
Right? No, I'm saying you got right through that shit, didn't you?
No, straight up. When I was 17 years old. And I'll never forget what my buddy told me, my boss told me. And he saw me one day and I was just like, my mind was on some next shit. It was just off. I was doing the work. It was cool. I was getting everything done, but he could tell I wasn't in it. This is not what I wanted to do with my life. Right. And he knew that. And he said to me, he goes, look, if I don't care what job you're doing, construction, sales, fucking whatever it is.
I know what you're going to say.
And he goes, if you're ever at a job where you're not creatively thinking about how to do it better, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Because you're just stagnating.
It's not for you. Right? If you're not thinking about the thing that you're doing and how to make it better, get out. You're not learning anything. You're all just wasting your time. Right? Now, there are all the jobs in the world where people are doing them and they're creatively trying to make them better. That is a positive. Even if they don't stay at that job, the fact that they're learning something and they're trying to develop something, that's helping you, right? That's teaching you something.
Yo, Paul,
but when you're in something that's
your TED Talk, bro.
Yeah,
you already signed up for it. You're right here. But that's it, right? And it's like, you want to talk about the things that I've gone through and the things that I've learned and those things that have helped me. I don't look at anything as a negative, right?
That's it. It's
the biggest L's I've ever taken, and Alfred knows this for a fact. You work in a kitchen, the fucking hardest day that you have, where you're in the shits, you have 300 tables, they've flipped them twice. Everyone's running out of everything. You know what I mean? Like there's no, people are running out of fucking ingredients that you need for this plate and this plate, and like shit's just hitting the fan. I'll tell you this, no matter how fucking bad that day is, every day after that is downhill.
Yeah.
Everybody in the kitchen, 1,000% better after that day, because it'll never be that bad again.
So true.
Every single time I worked at a new restaurant, I loved hitting that fucking horror day. Because you knew it was all easy after that shit.
Yeah.
You learn how to make a sauce in 5 fucking minutes. You know what I mean? You learn how to break down a chicken or a fish in 5 minutes because you need to put it on the plate. You know what I mean? Now.
Animal instinct.
You learn how to make sauces out of nowhere, like
pressure.
The project.
Right? You work better under pressure. That's what it is.
And I'll tell you,
animal instinct kicking in. Just go.
And that's the thing too, is when I tell people I used to be a chef, right? They're like, oh, that's, because you're an artist, so it was creative. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. You work in a kitchen, there's nothing creative about that. That's militant.
Your labor.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Repetition. fucking timing, multitasking, right? Knowing that's the labor in cooking, right? For a restaurant. And I always equate it to this. Alfred, you feel this. I always tell people, I'm like, okay, perfect example. You guys have a favorite dish that your parents made for you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah? What was it?
Oh God, I have so many, but let's say goulash.
Really?
Okay, goulash.
I have it right now. My mom made it. It's so good.
My mom's half Slovenian too, so I have.
Oh shit! Well, there you go.
So good. How many times
got a legendary spaghetti? That's my mom's one. The spaghetti.
There you go. So if you had to think about it, how many times would you think that your parents made that for you?
Oh boy, like once a week?
200 times? 300 times?
More than that, maybe.
Over the course of your life, 200-300 times seems like a lot, right?
No.
But like, it seems accurate. Right?
She's like, no, not enough.
So if you think about this, try to wrap your mind around this for a sec. If I was a grill chef for most of the time, right? I have 2, 3, maybe 4 items that come off of my station. In one season of like one quarter, one season of whatever you're cooking, you have 20 to 30 portions per night, right? Get rid of those. A decent restaurant, it's expediting that much, give or take on an average, 20, 30 portions a night. In the course of that 4 months or 3 months that season's running, I've cooked that one dish 2,000 to 3,000 times.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Alfred.
After.
But in 10 years, I'm telling you, I can count 8 to 9 perfect services where everybody on the line had a flawless service. 8 to 9, maybe.
Yeah, it's rare.
Where the whole kitchen was just running like a fucking well-oiled machine, right? There's always little idiosyncrasies and little micro adjustments.
Yeah.
And you realize that I can cook a dish 2,000 fucking times and always find a way to do it better.
Do it.
Always find a way to time it better with the other place that's coming off. So you learn about micro tweaking of things, right? And you really start honing in. I tried to bring that level of attention to what I do with my artwork, right?
Okay.
It's always looking for efficiencies. Dylan, we work in many different mediums, always looking for a different thing to fix, to change. How do I get faster at this? How do I get faster at that? How do I save money on this? How do I save money on that?
Yeah,
right?
It's the mentality of being a chef. Like actually, you're applying that to other things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
And that's why people, it's creative. So it's creative. Nothing to do with it. Yeah. Right?
So what were you saying, Madge?
It's project management. In the end, we're the best project managers on the face of the planet. People go to school and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to become a project manager.
You can't teach that drive.
You can't. Like the amount of times that I've done events and just figuring out little things to just make it that much easier for me. Simply like the simplest an example, aprons. Okay, I have to have aprons when I'm teaching classes. I give everyone an apron. When I first had them, all I did was throw them in a bag. And then when I would have an event, I would realize that, they're all tangled up and it takes up time. So instead, I just started rolling them up and folding them up at the end of the events and putting them in a sequence, or even my paintbrushes, sectioning out in every different, you know what I mean? So it's just just small little things that most people would not think about is something that we it almost comes to us within the first event or whatever we're doing. It becomes almost regular. Of course. ADD is amazing for organization when it comes to things that we're passionate about.
I make all the mistakes, but I try never to make them twice.
Exactamundo, mon ami. Exactamundo. I will never make them twice. Fool me once. Do not fool me twice.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yo.
And that's the thing,
love
right?
You guys. I love hearing all of these things. It is so incredible. It is so incredible. But I know that we want to try and keep it on track. So as we come and get ready to kind of wrap it up, please let us know, what do you guys have coming up in the future? What are the things? Where can we find you? What are the things that you guys have going on? Let us know what is happening in your in the professional lives of you amazing artists. Madge, what do you have coming up?
Well, for Friday, October 29th, I'm hosting Paint Puff Pass Plate, which is essentially Paint Puff Pass. I never mentioned this to the newbies or whatever, but Paint Puff Pass, the difference between like a paint night or whatever is not only that we smoke weed and we laugh or whatever, but I teach you how to paint subliminally sexual paintings. And that's another thing that I really like to incorporate with Paint Puff Pass is like subliminally giving like tips and tricks on how to have a good sex life while we paint.
I love that vibe.
So there's that aspect, but we're infusing a 3-course meal with it. So think like painting, eating, laughing, toking, painting, eating, laughing, toking kind of thing.
What else do you want?
That's going to be on the 29th. At a secret loft in Leslieville. And then I've got drag at the Opera House every second Thursday. And then we're going to be like expanding pretty hard in Ottawa because Ottawa is boring as fuck. There's a lot of people that are our age that work for the government that have so much disposable income because none of them are married or have children and have nothing to do. So Ottawa is going to be our next like big venture or whatever. So probably in the Christmas time, but go to adultartattack.com/.ca, check out my shit and Instagram. I'm already following you, Dylan, and I'll be following you, Paul. So you'll see Adult Art Attack in a second. Okay.
Amazing. Yes. And we big up everything that you're doing, Maj. You know, we support you 100 to the fullest.
Thank you.
So you know, we got you. Anytime, anything we can do to help you, you know we're here to support you. Oh,
in the bitch. You can call me that Dosaki nigga. Philippa teeth on the wrist, long arms, and this water I'm a will. Move a bird like Purdue, fishing the third grade.